content. And by born digital, I mean we know every publisher has been using computers for the last 25 years to produce PDF that drove the printing presses. But born digital content is intended to be a digital product from the get-go. There may be a print version, it may not. But within the EPUB specification, and it's based on HTML5, we see a lot more functionality and capabilities than we've ever seen before in print books. Previously, the digital book was a transport of the print onto a digital version. And yes, it weighed less, but it was competing nose to nose with high resolution on paper, no problem reading it on the beach, but it was not showing off the features of a digital book that we envision for the future. Now, with EPUB 3, we've got the capabilities of doing all kinds of exciting things. I'm very confident that we will be able to make the text of all born digital books accessible right out of the box. There's some things we have to do. Correct reading order. We need to make sure we get the hierarchy of the headings straight. And I'm very confident that we'll be able to do those kinds of things. But books are much more, and the digital book is going to be much more than it is today. Graphical content has been growing in quantity and is going to continue to grow. We know that data many times is used to produce graphical visualizations that make it easy to visually understand and grasp what's going on. And so you have a sophisticated database in SAS or in Excel, and from that you generate a fabulous visualization that people can grasp immediately. And what do you do for people who can't see that visualization? Well, we traditionally have been turning that back into a table. Well, you know, it started out as a table, went to a graphic, and now we're putting it back in a table. I think you're going to like Ed Summer's presentation when he's up here later today, because there's some great ideas about moving this forward. So we have the interactivity and widgets that will be part of the digital books, which are JavaScripts doing fun things. QTI for testing and quizzes that'll be inside books all have to be made accessible. Animations and presentations and interactive applications that demonstrate things are all part of what we envision for the books of the future. And then, of course, images and videos are all going to be new in the digital book of the future. So we've got plenty to work on over the years to come, but the next year is going to set the course. We have to establish the attitude and begin to develop and show the technologies that are going to work for us in the future. Now, in higher ed, it's not just published materials from a traditional publisher that are going to be used by students. There's the professor-created content, there's information collected from the internet and YouTube and all kinds of sources. There's student-created content that is going to be aggregated, and all of this information needs to be available to the student to be successful. We know that journals are a big source of information for students past the second year. Journals become a significant part of the information that's needed. And here too, we need to make sure that these kinds of things are accessible. So we have a long, long laundry list of things to do. So don't have to worry about not having enough to do. There's plenty. I think that the publishing industry has an opportunity to be a real leader in the next generation of information that comes out. Publishers have a lot more control over the content and have a lot more expertise in producing things. So I'm really hopeful that the materials that are produced by publishers will be exemplary materials for accessibility. The IDPF has been putting in a set of supporting materials. So in the standard we have right now, there's a list of things that go on to support that specification. Starting with the book Accessible EPUB 3, freely available. It will be revised as needed. I'm sure there'll be a revision to it this year. The checklist that we saw to help publishers and people screening content and making sure it's working good. We have sample content. There's 20 samples of EPUB 3 content that has been checked and approved, and we know it's good. Those are available for people to test with their reading systems. I was sitting next to Jim Gashel when he pulled up an EPUB 3 sample. I think it was Moby Dick. Pulled it up in the Pleo, and it worked perfectly. No problems. That was just fabulous. There's a set of widgets that need to be produced and put into open source as demonstrations of the materials. And I would encourage you to work with the IDPF and Marcus as widgets are being developed to make sure that those widgets are accessible and work properly with assistive technologies and reading systems that are self-voicing. If we have that collection of widgets, it'll be easier for companies to copycat, to cut and paste, and use the techniques that are developed that are accessible and put these kinds of quizzes and interactivities and things like this right into your books, so that those widgets are really important. MathML support is very weak in reading systems right now, but it's absolutely at the heart of science, technology, engineering, and math that is so important to move people, everybody, into more technical fields. And those kinds of materials are absolutely essential and need to be produced. We see a lot of people, envision a lot of people creating descriptions of things that need more than just alt text. And we have a presentation from Betsy today about the diagram project and how that can be used, leveraged to make graphical content of all different types more accessible. So all of those things we need to be working on. I think in the next year we're going to have advancements in EPUB check, and most distributors are saying you must have passed EPUB check before you submit your content to us. It's got to pass EPUB check. And enhancing EPUB check for accessibility, but I think that having an interactive accessibility checking tool that hopefully can be built into all kinds of authoring tools that are out there, because those professors, those students producing content are going to need some guidance and a checking tool to help them create accessible content so that it can be used by everybody in those courses. And I think that the learning management systems that are out there and working to make their interfaces accessible are going to be calling on all different kinds of content, aggregating it. We have to make sure that we have a process in place to identify those things that are accessible and meet the needs of the students, and where there is need for alternative materials. In the DAISY Consortium, we've been talking about inclusive publishing and partnerships with publishers. So the DAISY Consortium members in the room today, and there's a lot of them, I believe that we'll be looking at how we can partner with publishers and collaborate and work with publishers to help fill the gaps and enhance the materials, to expand them in ways that will make them more accessible to people with disabilities, make sure that Braille is available for those who need it, and the technographics that support graphical content is there. So tons of things to do, but we've got an opportunity, and the publishing community through EPUB 3, I believe, is the best way to approach this. So, as an example of a publisher initiative, I wanted to bring up Cristina Mussinelli, who is on the board of the IDPF and helping to direct what's going on in that standards organization. It's great to have commitments from people on the board of the IDPF. I would like her to come up and show us a little bit about what's going on in the LEA project from Italy, and then we'll do some questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much to George for inviting me, and thank you very much with my colleague from China Bright Press who borrowed me the computer. So the Chinese interface is there, it's not mine. I am responsible within the Italian Publishing Association of the area of digital publishing, and I am also responsible of the LEA project. The LEA project, that in Italian means Italian Accessible Books, is a project that has been funded by the Ministry of Culture in last year, and we are managing this one in collaboration with the Italian Blind Union. The project is focused on providing 3,000 accessible books. This was a request of the Ministry of Culture in fiction and non-fiction in an accessible way. So what we decided to do is not to focus only on the production of books, but to try to set up a project that was focused on the whole value chain, try to understand how it could be possible to provide these books in the mainstream production and distribution channel. So this project is also being awarded as a finalist for the 2012 European Inclusion Award. We are waiting for the final decision. It will be probably some time in this month. So what have we done? Sorry. Do you have an idea how I can? I'm not able to go on. Thank you.